Do you live in a world filled with corporate data? Are you plagued by siloed departments? Are your lackluster growth strategies demolishing your chances for success? Are you held captive by the evil menace, Lord Lack? Lack of time, lack of strategy, and lack of the most important and powerful tool in your superhero tool belt, knowledge. Never fear, Hubheroes. Get ready to don your cape and mask, move into action, and become the Hub Hero your organization needs. Tune in each week to join the League of Extraordinary Inbound Heroes as we help you educate, empower, and execute. Hubheroes, it's time to unite and activate your powers. Before we begin, we need to disclose that both Devin and Max are currently employed by HubSpot at the time of this episode's recording. This podcast is in no way affiliated with or produced by HubSpot, and the thoughts and opinions expressed by Devin and Max during the show are that of their own and in no way represent those of their employer.
Goodness gracious. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Fantastic.
I'm fine.
Well, that's joyful.
Oh, am I allowed to talk now?
Yeah.
Or am I going to get played off again by our own intro music? This is the Oscars. The Oscars were last weekend. And here I am getting played off before the introduction even starts.
Yeah.
George, I'm great. Happy Friday.
We should probably explain. Liz was trying to say something, and I just went ahead and hit the intro music. Very loudly, might I say, which then I kind of tuned it down a little bit. But yeah, Liz, you're allowed to talk. We're glad you're here. We love you very much. Are we good now?
Wow.
Are we just taking turns pissing off Liz every week?
Yes, I will take some salsa for this chip on my shoulder. Thank you for asking. I know this is going to be a spicy episode. Would you like to know why? Since we're pulling back the curtain on things?
Why?
This was an episode topic that I am very excited about. George, I know you're very excited about it. I know everybody looked at the outline and what we were going to be talking about, and no one left me any notes. So
Yeah.
we are going in blind, which is horrifying considering George apparently is feeling a little bit extra spicy today.
Yeah, it's Friday. It's Friday and feeling spicy.
Muy
Spicy?
caliente.
Oh, yeah.
Simon.
Devin, how are you today?
I'm doing...
still mad at you. I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. How are you? If you want to know why I did that, listen to the end of last week's episode. That's what we called synergy of content promotion. No, Devin, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing, Liz?
I've been better. You know, I think I know what the haiku at the end of this episode is going to be about today. George, I feel like Max, though, he's been going under the radar for a little bit, so I might just get spiteful next week. We're going to see what happens. But
I like
leaving
that idea.
all of it. Okay, wow. So 2 weeks in a row for George. Got it. Perfect. But leaving aside all of the angst in my heart, because I'm emotional, clearly. That's okay. Leaving aside all the angst, though, I am so excited about today's topic because we are talking about HubSpot Academy. Now, I want to share a little bit of my story with HubSpot Academy because when I started out many moons ago in the HubSpot universe, it was like 2013, 2014, there were 5 certifications. And I worked at a small agency, HubSpot partner agency in Annapolis called Quintain Marketing. What's up, Kathleen and John? You are the best.
Whoop, whoop.
And myself, a girl named Shelby, and then my best friend, Jessie Lee, who is one of the most incredible website strategists I've ever met. She's now at Media Junction. The 3 of us, at one point in time, actually achieved all 5 certifications.
Ooh.
And then John made us little tiaras that had like each of the 5 little symbols for each of it. So, do you know what HubSpot Academy has now? Not 5. From my understanding, George, you have at least 40? Is that right?
Well, we've got to be completely honest and transparent on this podcast.
Oh, no. Do you only have 39?
It's 46.
At one given point in time, it was 40. But as my daughter, who is starting to get her certifications and tells me that she's going to eventually have more than me, has informed me is that 11 of mine are about to fall off and I need to renew. So let's just say that owning a business and keeping your HubSpot
That's
Academy
a great story, George.
Continuing on. So it's not 40, but it's a lot. And it'll continue to be a lot because I will get them somehow, some way.
Well,
So
I have a
needless to say, it's not
suggestion
just
for that.
5.
Uh-oh. Devin has a suggestion.
What you should do is look at the week of May 15th through May 19th.
Yes.
Put time on your calendar. And this is not just for George, this is for everybody. Week
What?
of May 15th through 19th. Put some time on your calendar. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick plug here.
Do it, brother. Do it.
Shill.
World Certification Week is happening May 15th through May 19th.
Yeah, let's go. Get all the certifications in that time. Why do they want to do that,
Everything you
Devin?
can. Well, here's the thing. If you're not familiar with World Certification Week, it's an annual event that's hosted by HubSpot Academy where individuals and partners are encouraged to learn and connect and grow, but most importantly, dedicate time to your personal development. And that's why we're talking about it now instead of waiting until May, because we know how crazy calendars can get. So if you put time on your calendar for May 15th through 19th, and the reason why those specific days is because it's not just concerted effort, but for every HubSpot certification that is completed during World Certification Week, HubSpot's going to donate $5 up to $50,000
Let's
total
go.
to education-focused charities
Nice.
around the world.
Let's go.
So,
Nice.
in addition to
Oh my
learning, there are
gosh.
multiple online events like prep sessions, office hours, panel discussions, professional development talks, and it's happening all around the world across all time zones. So get time on your calendar, May 15th through May 19th. I would at least try and block an hour a day. If you're the person who leads an organization, set aside time. Tell your team members to set aside time and make that your big professional development week, because not only are you going to grow your team and grow your people professionally, but you're also going to help money go towards a worthy cause.
I
Do it
might
for
have
the
to
kids.
take that week off. Do it for the kids. I might
it for
have
the
to take
kids.
that week off and just see if I can get like a massively obnoxious number of certifications during that time frame.
Oh my gosh. George.
Of the jungle?
Okay, we are-
Watch out for that tree?
No.
What? I don't know. Where are we going?
You did start
Okay.
singing that song.
I know we have literally just totally broken down in the introduction, but for longtime listeners, first-time callers, you knew this chaos was coming. This always happens, and I promise we will get to where we're going. Number one, George,
Yeah.
we've talked about me coming down to North Carolina.
Yeah.
Guess what happens at the end of that week? Fast and the Furious 10 comes out on the 19th.
Wow.
We need to have a convocation of the Liz and the George, and I want to suggest something. I think I should come down that week, and you and I should see who can complete the most certifications in that week.
Oh, man, I'm getting dusted. Yep. Hey,
Yay,
but first of
I
all,
like winning.
Let's figure this out, because I think it's a really cool thing to just get a bunch of certifications and give back to the community and the kids as well. And the fact that Fast and Furious. Oh
The Furious. Oh my God. The mothership, it calls us home.
Wow,
I might need a
you spend
moment.
you spend a whole week just developing your brain in the best way, and then you just melt it down on some Fast and the Furious.
Of
at the end,
course.
I'm
Why
sorry.
wouldn't you?
It is cinematic excellence. They put Ludacris and Tyrese in a a Pontiac Fiero, and put them into space in orbit around Earth.
And that made you want to see another one?
Well,
Devin, you just got out of the doghouse, and we're walking ourselves right back in.
I mean,
I'll
listen.
be honest.
Don't get me wrong. I'm going to see it. I'm going to watch it, but it's only because I'm culturally obligated as an American that I've already devoted hours of my life to seeing the first 9. I might as well keep going. But we've been to space. What can possibly come next?
It's about family.
You're right, Devin. You're
You know
right,
what?
Devin.
You know what could come next? They could actually visit HubSpot Academy.
You know what? No, you want to know what
Hold on,
comes next?
hold on.
You want to know what comes next, dude? Fast and Furious 11. That's exactly what's coming next. And you
Actually,
know
that's
it.
true. It's the last
know it.
installment. It's being broken up into 2 parts. But Devin is absolutely right, guys, because HubSpot Academy has become something incredibly comprehensive and amazing. And see what I did? That's a flawless segue.
Yeah, I
Take
like
notes,
that.
America.
No bumps whatsoever.
No bumps. That's because I'm already face down on the carpet laughing and crying at the same time. No. So let's bring it
Family.
back. First of all, everybody remember, May 15th, it's going to be the great HubSpot Academy World Certification Day. I'm so glad we stopped the intro to talk about that, because that is just so freaking cool. Way to go, Big
The
Sprocket.
whole week. World Certification Week.
Love it.
Yep. So let's talk about why HubSpot Academy is important. Why we're dedicating an entire week to do this kind of work. Because like I said at the beginning of this, right? I started back in 2013, 2014, there were 5. Now there are like a bajillion. Now, whether you are like me, and let's be honest, HubSpot Academy is kind of like the dentist. I know I need to go. I have not been. The longer I wait, the more problematic it becomes. And then for the people who are new to the HubSpot ecosystem, you might be walking around going, this is amazing, but it's like when you went to the Disney store and your mom was like, you can have one thing and then you can't pick one thing, so you pick something tiny and then you're just mad at yourself the whole way home because you were just so overwhelmed in the moment you didn't know where to start. That is why we wanted to have this episode for today. This is not a superficial primer for HubSpot Academy. This is not just a big commercial for World Certification Week. In fact, going into this, I didn't even know that was happening, but I'm so glad we got to talk about it. Today, we're going to talk about the genesis of HubSpot Academy, where it came from, what it was intended to create for us, and why it's essential to understand whether you're new to it or you've been around the block and you treat it like the dentist like I do, what has changed. But one of my favorite parts about this conversation that I know we're going to get to is that there's the stuff you're going to explicitly learn out of HubSpot Academy, the actual certifications, the knowing and the knowledge, social media, sales enablement, delition, service, operations. But there is something even more bigger picture than that you can learn from HubSpot Academy. I don't even think Max and Devin know where George and I are going with this one, but I am so excited to get there. But let's cap it off. I want to throw this question out there, and I'm going to give this to anybody. What do people think HubSpot Academy is versus what is HubSpot Academy really?
Yeah, so I want to jump in here because I'm going to answer that question, but I also want people to realize the tipping point in which I knew that I wanted us to have this conversation. Last week, 3 times I heard, yeah, it's just a lot. It's just a lot. I don't know where to start. I go there and I'm paralyzed. George, can you give me like a roadmap? What's the 1, 2, 3 destinations that I need to take inside of the entire city of education? And so what's interesting, Liz, for me, where I go is what it's become a lot. What I love is I've been able to navigate the city since it was a 1-room log cabin, right? 1 certification. Didn't really even have individual lessons. Was only marketing hub. And so I know how to navigate the city well, which we're going to talk about navigating the city today in this episode. But what people, I think, especially newcomers, think is it's a lot. And I don't know what to do with it. And the unfortunate thing is when I hear that, there is not much that depresses me in the world. But when I hear that come out of people's mouths, understanding the true power that it could provide one's life and the growth that it could provide one's business, I get depressed, deflated, frustrated. And that's when I reached out and I was like, we have to do a HubSpot Academy session.
Exactly. That's the thing is that in the beginning, when there were like a handful of certifications, it was really easy to collect them all if you were that type of person, or just find something that fits what you're trying to do. Or if you're just trying to learn the software, that's great. And HubSpot Academy is a great place to learn the software. And some people, that all they want to do is go in and learn the platform. But HubSpot Academy is so much more than that. Mm-hmm. There are not just about the platform, but best practices, and regardless of what part of the org you're in, there's something for you. And there's more than just the certifications. When people talk about HubSpot Academy, they get so deep down with the certifications, they miss out on just the courses around. There are so many excellent courses that can act as continuing education for you, regardless of what your education was when you came in. And that's the important thing. HubSpot Academy can be as important for someone who is going for their postdoctorate versus someone who barely graduated high school. If you can get this information and internalize it and apply it, it is going to change your life. And that's not hyperbole, that's just fact. If you take this information from all of these experts that are compiled on every certification, every course, and you apply it, I'm doing things that normally are reserved for the world of people with letters behind their names. And I have no letters behind my name except for senior, because I'm completely unoriginal and named another human being after myself. But as a result, I, not even a month ago, was giving a lecture as a guest lecturer at Howard University in an advanced social media class just off of what I've learned from HubSpot Academy over the years. And so it's more than just where you go to learn HubSpot. It's where you go to grow better.
Yeah, and I want to jump in here real quick because, Devin, I said one of the things we're going to do is help people navigate the city. And there's been, by the way, if you haven't logged into HubSpot Academy in a while, a lot has changed as far as the way of where you can find stuff. And again, we're going to talk about that at a deeper level, but because, Devin, what you said is they think it's just about the software, it's just about the certifications. You need to pay attention to that in one of the drop-down areas, it literally says categories, and then below that it says HubSpot software. So it's, do you want to learn about the category that is marketing, the category that is sales, the category that is service, and it goes on, or do you want to learn about HubSpot software marketing, HubSpot software sales, HubSpot software service? So if you're a human that wants to learn about HubSpot software marketing blogs, you can go to HubSpot software marketing blogs. If you want to learn something about just blogging, it's going to be up in the marketing categories. So you can pick and choose like the direction in which you're trying to learn. So that's one, knowing that there's a left and a right turn from the get-go of your education.
Yeah. And so oftentimes, like, I'll talk about, when you think about just HubSpot in general, there's HubSpot, the software, and then there's inbound, the strategy, and they're meant to work together. The same kind of idea like applies in Academy. You don't have to be a HubSpot user to get a ton of value out of what you see in there. You can technically do inbound without HubSpot. You can do a lot of these things with other tools. And, the Academy will teach you everything you need to know about a lot of that stuff. So even if you're just in it for like the strategic stuff, there's tons and tons, if not more, in there than like just strictly certifications on the software. And if you want to learn how to pair both of those things together, well, there's no other place in the world where you can do it like that. And the reason I think that like this is so important, and we asked that question, like, what do people think it is versus what is it actually? Well, in terms of what is it actually, you got to think about what this is a portal to. This is a portal to this massive HubSpot universe and ecosystem and community and job opportunities that sits behind this thing. You got to think about it. You could work at HubSpot. You could work at a HubSpot partner agency. You could work at a company that builds products on HubSpot. You could work at a company that uses HubSpot. There is an almost like unlimited amount of different variations of that, and all the knowledge that you need to enter into those spaces, or at least the majority of it, and different certifications and experiences that you can have that'll help separate you from others. And especially in the world where the HubSpot talent pool that's just available out there in the universe is very scarce right now, because there's tons of customers using HubSpot that are hiring people for their HubSpot experience. There's tons of partner agencies that are sucking up all the HubSpot talent that's out there in the universe because HubSpot is scaling and those partners need to scale with it, right? All of that is available to you. All those learnings and education that you need to thrive in that space is available to you for free. You do not need to go back to college to learn this stuff. It is given to you on a silver platter. A lot of people talk about breaking into tech. Yo, break into HubSpot, break into inbound, and it's all right here. It doesn't cost you a goddamn thing. And you can go and start consuming it and get into this wonderful world that we all live in so much that we made a freaking podcast about it. Right? It's all right here.
Max
got a little passionate. Max got a little passionate, but I have to double down on what Max is saying because, and I'm glad that you brought that up because I was literally trying to give Liz like subtle signs that I wanted to say something. Because the
George,
cherry,
you don't have to hold on. You don't have to give
subtle.
me a subtle sign. I was literally watching you like, don't say anything, Liz.
Yeah.
Don't say
Yeah,
anything.
it kind
Liz.
of was.
I'm ready to
I kind
go.
of was
I'm
like
ready.
that.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
I kind of was like that, but the cherry on top is the fact that it's free. And I bring this up and wanted to make sure that we brought this up because I was on a call this week with a potential client and they asked me the question, hey, we're trying to hire a new content person, and if we can find somebody that isn't like just ready to go, where would you send them to learn about digital marketing and content marketing and like the things that we're going to do with HubSpot? And I rattled off 3 certifications that they should have that person do. And I said, and the good thing is that it's free. You would have thought it was the second coming of Jesus. That's my battle against Max's swear, by the way. It was the second coming of Jesus. Their eyes opened up, their mouth dropped open. They're like, wait, it's free? And I was like,
Great.
yeah, it's free. So see, here's the thing. HubSpot does have some paid trainings. And I think along people's journey, they see some of these paid trainings. And I get fearful that they see that and then maybe start to think that HubSpot Academy is something that you actually have to pay for. And the answer to that is absolutely not.
What's fascinating to me, George, though, is that I wanted to pivot back to you to tell your story with HubSpot.
Oh, God.
Because you have, I know we've talked a little bit about it on here, but I think each of us to some degree, even though maybe we take it for granted now, even though we look at it and go, oh, look at all the certifications I should do, but haven't. Like that was our gateway. That was our gateway to changing our career. Like, for example, like I think people are always surprised to find out, like, I am a college dropout.
Yeah. I got you beat.
I know, but I landed in inbound completely by accident because I had worked my way up to a senior editor position at a digital publisher, but then they did a massive squeeze, a massive layoff. And I didn't know what to do. I got picked up by Kathleen and John at Quintain. And because of HubSpot Academy, I was literally able to immerse myself into a new career, actually get real free education, not fake free education like is so common nowadays. Geez, who isn't making a course? I need women in felt pink hats to stop making courses about how to make courses for coaches who coach coaches who coach coaches. Like,
oh,
please
wow.
Stop.
Very
Stop
specific.
It.
Very specific.
Look, they know who they are, and every white woman on Instagram knows who they are.
Yeah,
and we
they
know
do.
at least 5 of them.
They do.
Yes.
That makes sense because I have no idea who they are. That's
They're horrifying, and Devin, that's because you're a smart man who would never be near them.
Yeah, for sure.
But my point is this, is that like I was able to make a massive pivot in my career during a time where the job market was not that great. And now this is my career. I found my life and my passion. And it's not because I ended up at a HubSpot agency. It's because of the accessibility of the education. So George, I was so surprised that when Devin shared his story, you didn't take us there, man.
Well,
it's so
I mean,
incredible.
I can definitely take us there. Again, I want this to be the HubSpot Academy episode,
We're
not the
gonna
George
get
B.
there,
Thomas
trust me.
Episode. But here's the thing, I can make it real short. High school dropout to agency owner. And now if I extend that a little bit longer, what I want people to understand is in 2012, we stumbled into HubSpot Academy, and I forever and the rest of my life will have a very special place in my heart for Mark Killens, for Chris LaDolce, for Sarah Bedrick, right? For the old school HubSpot Academy folks who were hustling and grinding to create content. And I literally, at one of the inbounds, after I had actually started to like do the Hubcast with Marcus Sheridan and start to do tutorials and realized there was a little bit of this brand starting to be built, I made it a point to go into the place at inbound where HubSpot Academy employees were and thank them from the bottom of my heart for creating the engine that allowed me to become who I was becoming. HubSpot Academy was the catalyst, the place where I could absorb like a sponge all the information that I needed to know to help the businesses that I was working for and the businesses that we were helping to grow pertaining to educating people with HubSpot and how to use it in their business. And without HubSpot Academy, there wouldn't be a George B. Thomas brand. It would be impossible, at least not in a HubSpot ecosystem. I would have been at Salesforce. No, I wouldn't have done that. They don't have it either. I would have been at, Marketo. No, wouldn't have been there. They don't have it either. Like, so I sit and I look at my story and I go from 2012 to an inbound 0. And I look at now 2023, what I would consider humbly an inbound hero. And I go, thanks HubSpot Academy. Thanks for all the road that you laid that I could educate and then turn around and educate others and live this life. Like, listen, people ask me, I'm like, I'm living the dream. And it's not a joke, it's reality. And I know that all of that goes back to those founding humans who had an idea, a crazy dream, and they chased it. And I can only imagine the amount of humans that are like me. And I can't wait till the day where I can just see like, hey, I want to see how many people this HubSpot Academy, like what are the ripples? What are the effects that actually had on an entire like planet?
I went from someone who was so afraid to give my resume to anyone because I would have to address the fact that I was at Boston University for about a year and a half. And then, you know what? We need to bring visibility to mental health. I went to college to escape a lot of things. There was nothing nefarious about it, but I left and I had to go find my own way. And I actually moved to Boston for 6.5 years. But I remember for so many years, giving my resume over was such a horrible endeavor. And then, you know what? I got to give another shout out to Bob Ruffalo, who's the founder and owner of Impact, who's another HubSpot agency. It got to the point where I was able to sit down with someone like Bob, and he saw something in me because of the education I did. And I actually ended up not showing him a resume. Now, to be fair, I came in as part of an acquisition, but like, he didn't want to ask my background. I was able to sit down and have an educated conversation about what I brought to the table. And if anybody's ever met Bob, you know he's a special kind of guy. He really takes bets on people. But the only way I was able to show up as that confident person who had built a career, then niched it down into the specialty of content is because of HubSpot Academy. And there's a reason, George, why I wanted us to share our stories first before we got into the story of HubSpot Academy. Because I think sometimes, whether we're talking about brands, people, HubSpot Academy, George, you haven't said humans yet, so can you throw me a humans real quick?
Ooh.
Humans.
Oh.
Yeah. That was so lovely. No, but like, we forget that it's not just where someone is, it's the story that matters.
That's it.
So you started digging into it a little bit. Let's dig a bit more into the story of HubSpot Academy, but why should anybody care listening right now about where HubSpot came from and why in order to use it effectively today?
I think like HubSpot Academy is probably like one of the most tried and true examples of how inbound works. Like if you think about it, like all the customers that I was ever talking to at the beginning when I was an implementation specialist, when I asked them how they heard about HubSpot, 99% of the time the answer was like, oh, your academy, your content, all that, like, you know, and leading with educational content to really get people to like trust you and do better in their jobs, do better in their lives, and to, you know, educate them, you know, in a lot of different ways. And, you know, that's how we were primarily like building a customer base for a long time. That's cool. But I think the other brilliant thing that HubSpot Academy did, you know, throughout its kind of history was like it provided our customers a way to continue to be like educated and self-sufficient and like build these different communities that ended up being the backbone of why we could continue to be successful and kept customers for so long, and they kept growing with us. It's all because of that educational content and the care that HubSpot put in to ensure that like not only did we get customers, but we actually like enabled them to be legitimately successful with the stuff that they were buying from us, instead of just using it as a way to like capture new leads and start selling to them. So I thought that was like a really kind of cool thing that happened.
So it's interesting, Max, because you just unlocked something in my brain that I don't know was fully unlocked before. And if you know me, if you're a listener, you know me, I do really bad with compliments. Like, yeah, humbly, you know, like happy, helpful, humble human, almost to like a bad point, to be honest with you. But one time I remember Dan Tyre, he said, dude, you are inbound in human form. And I was like, oh, thanks. Cool story, bro. Like, but the word stuck with me. And Max, it wasn't until I heard you talk about what you just said about HubSpot Academy that a flash came to my brain where it's like, you are what you focus on. And for 10 years, for over a decade, I've been focused on HubSpot Academy, certification after certification after certification, which has forced me to connect the dots, marketing to sales, sales to service, service to marketing, to operations, to RevOps, to CMS, to CRM, to like, and so focus on. And so it's interesting when I now think back about Dan saying you are inbound personified in a human form. It's because it's a decade of focusing on what HubSpot Academy was putting out, what they were teaching from a cultural best practice and click it to make it happen standpoint. And that just is kind of an amazing thing to sit back and kind of think about.
You know, I'd love to get Devin's take on this and see if he agrees with me or not. What you're speaking to, though, George, is something that, and I'm going to be honest, I'm almost glad you guys didn't give a lot of notes, because I think this is getting a lot more deeper and human. I don't have a fancy board, but that's what we got. I think we're getting into much deeper topics here than maybe we anticipated. Because what you're speaking to, George, is something that not necessarily HubSpot Academy can give you. You're either hungry to learn or you're not.
Oh.
You know, you're either able to look at HubSpot, you're either looking at HubSpot transactionally as, I would like to increase ROI of the platform, which is true, like that is a thing. But you also can walk in there, and I know we're going to talk a little bit later about focus, like how you bring focus to like this big giant Disney store of HubSpot, but that's something you can't fake. But to your point, George, it reminds me of you are what you eat, and I think we forget that our brains are little consumers too, and we can feed it junk food or we can feed it with learning. And I've noticed that I'm always happier, more helpful, but never humble when I'm learning. I don't know, Devin, what are your thoughts on that?
If you are self-motivated when it comes to learning, if you are ADHD and you hyper-focus, HubSpot Academy is the place to go. I had been obsessed with marketing since I was 15 years old, and I saw a URL on a website or on a commercial for the first time. And it just blew me away because I was already designing websites, but at the time it was like this underground nerdy thing. And the next thing you know, American Airlines comes on, and at the end of the commercial it says AA.com. That was game changing. That was like Super Bowl QR code, like level game changing for me. And it's always been a hobby to reverse engineer and try and duplicate marketing strategies. But the barrier of entry was entirely too high. Having only gone to college like Liz for a year and a half, and at that, being a music education major. And so the thing is that I've done a lot in my life. I've learned a lot. I've mastered a lot, but it's always been through atypical, non-traditional means. It's learning it myself, doing it myself, going to online and figuring it out. And so when I finally was able to get in marketing, 20 years after the spark was initially lit the flame, 35 years old is when I got into marketing full time, and not as a hobbyist, not as a quote unquote agency owner who's really just a glorified flyer designer. I was doing it for real, and I was doing it for like peanuts because somebody took a chance on a guy. And I ramped up from entry level to director in a year because of HubSpot. I have had so many amazing jobs and amazing experiences, and I've accomplished so much for other people, helping them grow and helping them make money. And there is a direct connection to every success in my life right now, including being on this podcast, because of HubSpot Academy. The thing is that with HubSpot Academy, what was challenging for me is that I understood the concepts. I was able to connect the dots, and I was able to basically duplicate the inbound strategy by reverse engineering it without having any sort of vocabulary, without having any idea how to articulate what I was actually doing, let alone being able to communicate to C-suite for buy-in. I didn't know what a KPI was. I didn't know what a marketing funnel was. I remember the day that I Googled funnel expecting to see one thing, and I saw sectioned triangles, and I'm like, no, this can't be what I'm looking for. And like, I remember learning all of that and being able to speak in a way that not only conveys what it is that I'm doing, but conveys it in a manner that inspires confidence in the people that are handing me money. And the entirety of that is because of HubSpot Academy. When I was doing onboarding, people ask me, it's like, Devin, how can I be like you? Oh my goodness, you're so amazing in marketing. You're so good as a strategist. Oh, you're just working a HubSpot platform like a champ. How did you learn that? I learned it all at HubSpot Academy.
Yeah.
Me, the college dropout tuba player, I was working in radio, making $18,000 a year. I went from making that in 2015 to making way more than that in 2023. I'm not going to tell you about my pockets, but I'll just tell you that I'm eating. All right. So I'm doing good.
A Fast and Furious reference. And
my pockets ain't empty, brother.
We ain't hungry, bro. We
ain't hungry, bro.
Devin, what matters, the only people that matter are the people in this room right here, right now, except for Max, who said family like a swear. And I don't respect it.
But yeah, HubSpot Academy is the reason I am enjoying life right now. It's the reason why my kids go to one of the best daycare in the city. Why, like, my kid does yoga. Yeah. I have a kid that does yoga.
Yeah.
There was once upon a time where you would get your hood card pulled for having your kid doing yoga. And I'm like, man, it's crazy.
Does Snoop show up and he's just like, I will take that?
Yeah. That's kind of the way it works in the community. If you're doing something that's considered atypical, you're going to get the side eye. But the thing is that my children are living their best life right now. My family is living their best life right now because of HubSpot Academy. Every success in the past 5 years of my life directly attributable to HubSpot Academy. So just to recap, from college dropout to guest professor on the RevOps certification. So feel free to check that out if you're going to get certified in World Certification Week. You'll see me there talking about stuff that I learned through HubSpot Academy.
I love
was
the
going to make a joke like, yeah, I want to make a joke
and
like.
Free.
And it's free.
And it's
I
free.
wanted to make a joke.
Did we say
I
it's
used to joke
free?
with my wife about that. We make the same amount of money, but she has student loans. It's fantastic.
Oh my God! I don't even know. I don't even know where to go from there, Liz. You better herd these cats. Herd these cats, girl.
Oh meow. And I love when when all of you just go. Arr. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, what was funny, Devin, is I wanted to make a joke there about like, well, now I know what certification to avoid. But that story, like, these are the stories that make me go, now that's the first certification I'm taking. I may not wait because that's what this is all about. Now, I want to pivot the discussion here, not away from stories, but because, George, I think we accidentally backdoored our way into our big idea. Because I think what happens is that when we think about content, we think about it like a commodity. When we think about education, we think about it as what part of the funnel is which triangle part, right? Like, we're trying to feed the flywheel, the funnel, the awkwardly shaped Tupperware with with the wrong lid on top, however you measure your sales cycle. We think about content and education as something with a very transactional value. And I think one of the greatest things that people can take away from HubSpot Academy that has nothing to do with you going into the certifications and actually taking them is understanding that HubSpot is a business. HubSpot is a business that needs to make money. This is kind of like the conversations I have with people when they're like, well, I can't just go on stage and be myself. I'm like, I go on stage and talk about Nicolas Cage and rant and rave. And George, you saw me talk at Retrofoam. I made people clap for me because they didn't clap hard enough when I told them I got married and I got mad. Yep. So I made an audience of foam insulation installers clap for me, and they did, and then they also took me seriously. HubSpot is special, and it's also not special. You can do these things too with your education. You can look at the constituency of humans that you serve, and you can make a choice to say there is a greater good we are going to serve through education, and maybe it's impacting their lives. Maybe it's so Devin's kid can go to yoga. Maybe it's so George can stand here and own the fact that, by the way, you called yourself an agency owner out loud.
I did.
Which is incredible considering the conversation you and I had a week ago or so.
I know.
This is, I think, the big idea that as a content nerd, I just light the freak up. Words move people. Education empowers. You have the ability to change lives. I do not care what you do or sell. I genuinely do not care. Somebody somewhere maybe just might be able to feel better about putting food on the table just because you went out of your way to educate instead of selling all the time. George, help me out.
Yeah, well, I think there's something that has kind of come into mind, and I feel like maybe it's a good piece to share, and that is you mentioned transactional. My relationship with HubSpot Academy has not been transactional at all. It has been a relationship. It's been a relationship with the content. It's been a relationship with the people who have been creating the content. It's been a relationship with the communities that I've been able to build because I've then been able to turn around and educate people. It's all about relationship. It's all about humans, and it's not transactional. And here's what I would hope that people would understand. If you're listening to this and you live in a world that this is not you, the phrase that I'm about to say, then take some time to think about if it should be. Because for the past decade of my life, these are the words of wisdom that I would give somebody, and that is education trumps entertainment. And if you realize that education trumps entertainment, and you realize that you have an entire library on how to do good business in a human way with tactics and strategies that don't suck and make you look like a butthole, then I don't know what to tell you. If you're sitting there and
That
you're
was
worried,
colorful.
if you're worried, if you're worried about you're getting certifications because your boss wants you to get the certifications. Your boss is demanding you to get the certifications. Let me tell you how many bosses I've worked for in the last 10 years that told me I needed to get a certain certification by a certain date. Zero. Because I took the mentality of education over entertainment. I'm going to catch them all. I'm going to know everything. And again, I fully understand for me, it's going to be different for you. For me, it was because somebody told me I would never amount to anything. And I felt stupid. And I saw HubSpot Academy as a way to never feel stupid again. And I took it and I ran with it.
So I kind of got
That hit
stuck
me where I
on.
live, man. That got me.
I mean,
Damn.
yeah. I think so many people take for granted, man, my boss is making me make my brain better and bigger and more smarter, gooder forever. What a jerk. I don't like them. Again, we can't sit here and share these stories and anticipate that suddenly you're going to be like, man, I also want to change my life with HubSpot Academy. But I think it does invite the idea of, I hope there are business owners right now listening to this
Yes.
who felt a ding the way I saw. Like Devin literally went, whoo, like collapsed upon himself like a little tiny dying star just for a second, feeling that in the feels. I hope business owners are listening right now, and you don't need to know what certifications they need to go get. Make that part of their thing. Make it a part of their week, their month, something. Make education a requirement. I'm always amazed by companies and leaders who do not do this. And it can't be stuff that's in your ecosystem. You can't do self-education on the stuff that's already in your house. You got to go out and get new stuff. It's only going to make your organization stronger. I get it. It's not technically, quote, a revenue generating activity at the like very direct and obvious level. I don't know. I'm feeling a feeling right now, which is why I'm struggling with my words.
It's all good. It's a good feeling. Embrace
I've worked
it.
I've worked in places where education is not prioritized. Or if education is prioritized, it's, well, you're going to have to do it and it's part of your requirement, but you're going to have to do it during off hours and that's not billable. And I have worked in organizations outside of even just the inbound ecosystem where that's been the case. And you know what that made me do? That made me realize I was a number. That made me realize that I was only ever as good as the stuff I was bringing in the door. And to be fair, everyone's replaceable. Like, company culture conversation for a different day. But that's a great way to increase turnover. That's a really great way to move people out the door.
And I want everybody to realize, too, that's listening to this, like, especially business owners, this isn't a pipe dream. I'm not going to sit here and sell you a bill of goods that I'm not willing to do myself. And I don't say this to boast. But if you go look at our new HubSpot implementation specialist, and you can go to the blog, you can learn about Jorge Fuentes, go to his LinkedIn and see in the last 3 weeks from being part of the team how many HubSpot Academy certifications he's gotten, and let the world know that he's gotten, and is on the track of, he even out of his own mouth said, I'm going to catch them all. You want to talk about a boss that was energized when he said I was going to catch them all. And I knew that I didn't have to force him to have that drive, force him to have that grit. And so, Liz, where I'm going with this is, you said make it mandatory. Lead the freaking way.
Yes.
Be a boss who gets the certifications. It doesn't have to be all of them, but lead the way, and then see who wants to follow and who wants to exceed what you're leading the way into.
This has been such an incredible episode. And George, understandably, we're going to have to do a part 2 of this, but
I swear we have
hope
to do a
that-
part 2 to almost everything we talk about. It's kind of crazy.
I mean, we should never just talk about something one time. That is, by the way, content strategy tip of the day. If you think you can only talk about something once, you've got a content problem and you are writing. Just call me. Let's talk. But I hope you guys feel good about me letting us go a little off the reservation today, because I think we had the conversation we were supposed to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I do.
So here's what I want us to end on before, yes, George, I have a poem. Yeah, it's a little bit different this time.
Oh, okay.
But before we get to that, short and sweet, one sentence. What is your piece of advice to someone who is either new to HubSpot Academy or is suddenly feeling moved by this conversation to reintroduce themselves? How do they make sense of the overwhelm? Because it is a lot. What is your one sentence advice?
All right, this is going to be for someone who's new to HubSpot, how you can use HubSpot Academy. If you're stepping into HubSpot for the first time and it looks like a giant blank canvas and you have no idea where to start, all the context that you need to make it all make sense can come from doing a couple of strategic certifications. Don't worry about the tool ones. You don't need to get certified in the Marketing Hub to use the Marketing Hub, but you need to have an overall understanding of the strategy so all that stuff starts to make sense. Start
Like the inbound
there.
strategy one.
Yep. Yeah. Start there. Then all of a sudden it will become a lot clearer what the job is to be done with that thing. Then get your software strategy after that, right? But the more important thing is that you understand the strategy, and that is the best possible place for you to go to download all that into your brain super quick.
So many semicolons in that sentence, Max, but
Yes,
it was
those
a
were
good
all
one.
commas. All commas. Yep.
It was a little bit of a run-on, bro.
You didn't say, hey, to be fair, you didn't say I couldn't use a run-on sentence, so I stayed within the
That's
guardrails.
fair.
Take
Lesson
that.
learned. Devin, you're up next.
World Certification Week. No, put it back on. Put it back on. World Certification Week, May 15th through 19th. If you're interested in developing your career, put time on your calendar today.
That was fantastic. And what if somebody doesn't want to wait until May?
I hope we don't get sued for that.
Do it.
That's like 2 months away. So let's say in between now and then, what's your advice?
Just set a goal, get in there, and try and find courses and certifications that align with your goal.
I love that. George?
Every time Devin walks in a room from this day forward, Max is gonna walk around with the soundboard with him. So, here's the thing.
That was a great sentence.
Yeah,
Thank you, George.
figure out what your major pain point is. Go to the search bar, search the thing. Find the videos that come up. Hit the little heart on the videos. Then realize instead of being paralyzed by everything, you'll go to the My Saved Items tab and you'll watch the videos that will help you fix the thing that you have the most hurt in at this moment. Meaning you don't have to have a certification mindset. You have to have a what do I need to learn today to get my ish done mindset.
Those were semicolons.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a run on.
I can deal with that.
I try to keep it short. It's hard for me to keep. Anyway, whatever.
Gentlemen, this is how it's done. If you're new to HubSpot or you've ignored it for a very, very long time, go to HubSpot Academy and just pick something that interests you. Just take the first step. It's like going back to the gym. Just start by thinking about putting on the gym clothes. Just take the baby first step.
There you go.
All right, George, are you ready for your poem? And then I'm going to take us out.
Yeah, let's hear the. Is it a haiku or a poem?
Oh, it's a poem
Oh,
because
okay.
I had some feelings. In fact, I asked ChatGPT to. This is going to be more embarrassing for you than it is for me. Trust me.
Oh God.
Write a poem about how George is mean to me in the style of Christopher Walken.
Oh snap!
I've never done a Christopher Walken impression. We're going to go on this journey together like a family. Are we ready? I see Max. He's like, this is going to be terrible.
Oh man, I'm so worried right now.
Oh, George.
I'm so worried.
Oh, George, you make my heart so sore. Your words like daggers, they cut me to the core. I'm feeling like a wounded deer lost in the dark, thanks to your mean behavior that leaves me with a mark. I'm not going to do the rest of that, but I am going to read the end of it. Thank you, thank you. Whatever it is you say, I will not let you bring me down. I'll keep on fighting and turn it all around, for I am strong. I will not let you defeat me, I stand tall like a tree. Rise up and you'll see. If you enjoyed that poem, if you enjoyed what we talked about this week, if you actually just have feelings, grievances, stories you want to share, please go to your local podcast provider and leave us a review. But otherwise, gentlemen, I will see you next week.
Yeah, I'm going to have to use the whole week to start feeling good about myself again. Holy crap. Okay, Hub Heroes, we've reached the end of another episode. Will Lord Lack continue to loom over the community, or will we be able to defeat him in the next episode of the Hub Heroes podcast? Make sure you tune in and find out in the next episode. Make sure you head over to thehubheroes.com to get the latest episodes and become part of the League of Heroes. FYI, if you're part of the League of Heroes, you'll get the show notes right in your inbox, and they come with some hidden power-up potential as well. Make sure you share this podcast with a friend, leave a review if you like what you're listening to, and use the hashtag HubHeroesPodcast on any of the socials and let us know what strategy conversation you'd like to listen into next. Until next time, when we meet and combine our forces, remember to be a happy, helpful, humble human, and of course, always be looking for a way to be someone's hero.